Good afternoon, I'm Mike Amor. This is a special edition of 7 News Melbourne. We're coming to you live from Yarraville, recently voted one of the great suburbs of the world. Like so many across the city, it's springing to life as our tough lockdown eases.
3, 2, 1.
Celebration as Melbourne comes roaring back to life. Plus a midnight rush, customers race to shops for the first time in 3 months. And hospitality unlocked, Melburnians finally free to get back on the beers.
Live from Melbourne, this is 7's Afternoon News with Mike Amor.
First at 4, Melbourne is finally waking up from our long, hard lockdown. The city's shopping strips are bustling with customers and cafes filled with diners, while friends and families finally catch up. Thousands of devoted shoppers queued for hours overnight, waiting for retailers to open at the stroke of midnight.
I actually came to buy new undies.
I just wanted to get the hell out of the house and away from my kids.
How long have you been waiting?
Since 6 p.m. I just hope it's not like the toilet paper. I hope I don't have to fight someone for my plates.
Almost 200,000 people are getting back to work today, and businesses must do everything they can to stay COVID safe. Laurel Irving begins our coverage from Northland Shopping Centre.
Well, Mike, what a sight this is. After so very long in lockdown today, Melbourne's shopping centres are reopened and they're busy. It is a different experience though. I'm here at Northland and everyone who comes to the shopping centre is encouraged to sanitise their hand. They're greeted by COVID monitors and all of the stores have social distancing practices in place, making sure there aren't too many people in the store at once and keeping their distance from each other. Staff are very happy to be back and so too are the customers. In the city, David Jones welcomed back people with some bright, colourful artwork at 9:30 this morning. They have heat mapping technology to make sure that the crowds don't get too busy at any one time. But the customers are very happy to be back and seem very comfortable that they won't be exposed to COVID.
We've really been awaiting this day for very long, so a big day for us.
Pretty comfortable. It's like everyone's wearing masks and there's a lot of hand sanitizer and stuff.
Oh, it's good. Very, very busy. Building up a bit of a sweat, but it's not as mad as what I expected, to be honest.
It kind of feels a bit foreign for me, but now that it's allowed, I feel like it's good to have some social interaction again.
Of course, the Premier only announced on Monday that stores could reopen, so it is taking some stores a little longer before they open their doors, but retailers hope that by the end of the week everyone will be open, of course in time for the Christmas rush. Mike.
Laurel Irving, thank you. After 16 weeks of takeaway only, Melbourne's 6,000 restaurants, pubs and cafes are free to welcome back dine-in customers. Live now to Paul Dowsley in North Melbourne. And Paul, there's still a long way to go for the city's food scene to recover.
Mike, the sun is shining, the beer is flowing, but these are baby steps because with these low numbers of patrons allowed to go into pubs and restaurants and clubs and bars, a lot of these venues will be operating and at a loss. So here are the numbers. You're allowed 20 inside at a maximum, so that's across 2 spaces. Outside, you're allowed 50 people maximum, all with density limits, and there must be a COVID-safe plan and a record kept of who's coming and going. Venues have had a rush on bookings, even though some weren't quite ready to go today because of the short notice, and all are hopeful that those rules will loosen in a couple of weeks. But it has been a perfect day, as you were saying, to enjoy this freedom, sunny and still. And even though many faces are covered with masks, you can still see the smiles and the happiness in people as they sit down and have a drink and a meal with friends again. It's the first time that we've been able to dine out in more than 100 days, and this is the first time that we've had these mask rules in place when you can also eat outside and inside. So diners are being asked to keep them on at the dining table when you sit down to order, only take them off to eat and drink. And staff are ready to enforce that and ask anyone breaching those rules to put their masks on, and then they can decide if it's not being adhered to that maybe it might be worth calling the police. So even though tables are sanitised between each group of diners, it's advised that you tuck your mask away safely.
If it's a reusable mask, I'll be putting that into a Ziploc bag and then just popping it under the table in your handbag or whatever. And then you'll need to use some hand sanitizer straight away because in theory you've infected your hands.
Just to feel free again is lovely, and just to leave your house without being criticised.
I felt very emotional, actually. It's been so long, and it's something I've taken for granted.
I could literally cry. So good.
Here at the Central Club Hotel in North Melbourne, they have an early licence. They've been open since 6 a.m. They've had a long day. I've had a long day as well. So I promise, Mike, this is just a prop, but cheers, Melbourne.
Yeah, cheers, Paul Dowsley, and sure, that's just a prop. Thank you. Now, Melburnians starved of quality time with loved ones can welcome guests back into their homes from today. Visits are restricted to 2 adults and their young children within 25 kilometres. Each household is only allowed to mix with another group once per day, and hosts are encouraged to keep a log of their guests. After 2 days of 0 cases, we recorded 2 new cases today. Both are linked to the northern suburbs cluster and are already in quarantine. Our rolling 14-day average continues to fall, now at 2.7.
Today is a positive day. To have just 2 more cases and to have them contained, to have them close contacts that were locked away, they were away from other people.
There are just 3 mystery cases remaining in Metro Melbourne. In regional Victoria, the rolling average is now officially 0. 2 more deaths have been reported, unfortunately. Neither is recent, but both are linked to aged care. And testing numbers continue to please authorities. Almost 25,000 were processed in the past 24 hours. Such a beautiful day here in Yarraville. We're seeing hundreds of people return to the suburbs, cafes and shops, so famous in this city. It really is quite amazing. We've got former Mayor of Maribyrnong, Sarah Carter, who joins me live. Sarah, thank you very much for joining us. How has the community responded to reopening? It must warm your heart.
It really does. I think it's a celebration, and just seeing the rolling dates of when our hospitality, cafes and eateries are opening, and also our shops, it's just been so wonderful.
When you look down the street here, lots of smiles, still lots of face coverings as well. It really must be pleasing to see everybody finally getting out, but getting out responsibly.
Absolutely. I think there has been a real sense of solidarity through this, but I think the emotional toil and obviously the financial stress, it's great to see that our traders have banded together. They've really supported each other through this time, but there's obviously a long road to recovery to go. So best to get out and support locally and eat locally and do what we can.
Now, the great suburb of Yarraville was recently named one of the best neighbourhoods in the world to live in. This is living proof, really, isn't it?
It's fabulous. 5th coolest. And I think it was only 2019 that Footscray made the list as well. So great to see. We've known for a long time the jewel that is the Inner West, but great to see that it's getting the recognition that it deserves.
It's easy to celebrate today. There is a lot of happiness, but there is also some despair. A lot of businesses won't make it this far.
Absolutely, and so we've obviously tried to support them at the council level and with the state grants, but there is a long road to recovery, and I think we all have a role to play in that where we can for those businesses that have been really resilient and are reopening their doors now. We need to be supporting them.
What would your message be to locals here? Come out safely.
Yeah, absolutely, come out safely. I mean, we know that we have these wonderful freedoms now, but it's not over, so always to be safe so that we can continue to get out, but to shop locally. I think now is the time, really, even looking ahead to Christmas now, when out looking for gifts, to try and do it locally and support those small businesses.
Yeah. All right, former Mayor of Maribyrnong, Sarah Carter, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. More distressing details have emerged about women being evasively searched following the discovery of an abandoned baby inside Qatar's international airport. Political reporter Taylor Aiken joins us live from Canberra. And Taylor, this distressing incident is more widespread than first feared.
That's right, Mike. Good afternoon. Foreign Minister Maurice Payne has revealed passengers on board another 9 flights were also subjected to the same invasive examination.
A shocking international incident
after a premature baby was found abandoned at Hamad International Airport in Doha. Now, the minister hasn't revealed what nationalities these other women are, but is facing questions over her handling of the incident.
dragging the minister into the spotlight. Marise Payne defends how she handled reports up to 13 Australian women were invasively searched at Hamad International Airport. Revealing despite becoming aware of the incident over 3 weeks ago, she is yet to speak directly with her Qatari counterpart.
I've said I will speak to the Foreign Minister on receipt of the report, Senator.
Instead, waiting until after an investigation is completed by the Qatari government. A move backed by the Prime Minister.
I think it's important that we can look at that before making a further response.
In their first statement since the incident was uncovered, the Qatar government said the premature baby girl was found concealed in a plastic bag and buried under garbage, prompting a search for anyone in the airport who could have been involved. The Qatari government did, however, apologise, saying they regret any distress or infringement on the personal freedoms of any traveller caused by this action, assuring a comprehensive and transparent investigation into the incident will be shared with our international partners.
So we will make a further response, not our first response, a further response, once we have the opportunity to see the results of that investigation.
Mike, the government is expecting the report conducted by Qatari officials to be handed to the Australian government within days. Meanwhile, the Australian Federal Police have also been investigating the incident here in Australia and providing the appropriate support to those involved.
Taylor Aiken in Canberra, thank you. Up next, a look at the rest of the day's news, including grand final wristbands recalled over safety fears, plus Melania on the campaign trail, admitting she disagrees with the president, and good news for the Boxing Day test. We're live in Yarraville as Melbourne reopens. Stay with us on 7. We're live in glorious Yarraville in Melbourne's west as our city reopens on this Wednesday afternoon. Taking a look at some other news now, thousands of free wristbands handed out at the AFL Gabba Grand Final have been recalled over safety fears. All 31,000 contain button batteries, which can be deadly if swallowed. A 3-year-old Queensland girl died after ingesting one in July. Explosive phone conversations involving the suspended V-Line boss have been played at Victoria's corruption watchdog. As Cameron Bowe reports, he's accused of receiving kickbacks after awarding a cleaning company a multi-million-dollar contract.
More serious allegations have been put to James Pinder at today's anti-corruption hearing. He was asked if he had received any cash at 6 secret meetings he had this year with George Haratos, the boss of cleaning company TransClean. The suspended V-Line boss is accused of receiving $320,000 from TransClean months after awarding the company a contract worth up to $40 million. He maintains that any money he received was due to winnings from a gambling syndicate he was involved with George Haratos. But he's been unable to explain why it was necessary to keep the gambling money and the syndicate a secret, including by using burner phones. Phone taps also recorded James Pinder discussing a possible cover-up over a near-fatal safety breach involving a TransClean staff member at Cheltenham. He and Metro Fleet Manager Peter Bollis discussed trying to discredit a witness.
I'm not saying it's appropriate. I've been consistent all the way through, but people say things all of the time. It doesn't mean that they happen.
Mr. Pinder, are you thinking about what you're saying to me?
James Pinder conceded at the hearing that it was inappropriate and deceitful of him to offer his friend Bollis a job in 2017. Just months later, he wrote to IBAC to confirm that V-Line was cleaning up its act after an investigation found serious problems with its recruitment process.
The race for the White House has stepped up a notch. Melania Trump out campaigning for the president, even openly criticising some of the things he says. Here's Paul Caddick in the United States.
Good afternoon. With 1 week to go, Donald Trump has again been crisscrossing the country with another 3 rallies in 3 states day. Here in Michigan, the traditionally Democratic state he narrowly won 4 years ago, he was urging supporters for a repeat performance as polls show he is trailing here. He was talking about coronavirus, not the surge in cases the country is currently seeing, but calling on authorities here to do more to reopen their economy and also his own experience with the disease.
I took that virus and I woke up the next morning and I felt like Superman. I could give every woman and every man right here a kiss and I wouldn't catch it. I have immunity.
From here in Lansing, it was on to Wisconsin and then Nebraska. While in Pennsylvania, it was First Lady Melania Trump taking the stage, speaking publicly for the first time since battling the coronavirus at her first campaign event in a year, thanking people for their support and delivering her pitch on behalf of the president.
I do not always agree with the way he says things. But it is important to him that he speaks directly to the people he serves.
As Donald Trump hits the states he won in 2016, Joe Biden is in Georgia today, which Democrats haven't won since the early 90s, to deliver what he's been calling his closing argument to America.
The president looks not to settle scores, but to find solutions. The president guided not by wistful thinking, but by science, reason, and fact. That's the kind of president I hope to be. Around 70 million Americans have now already voted, with 7 days to go until we find out what they've decided. From Lansing, Michigan, it's back to you.
And there's been violent scenes in Philadelphia. Fires were set and businesses looted. Nearly 100 people have been arrested. The unrest was sparked by the deadly shooting of a knife-wielding man by police, with video of the incident spread on social media. We've got much more to come as our special live coverage continues from here in Melbourne's west. And next, sport with Sean Sowerby, including the plan for crowds at the Boxing Day Test. Stay with us, live from Yarraville on this special edition of 7 News. Live from Yarraville, you're watching 7's afternoon news. A pleasant 20 degrees right now. Jane Bunn will be here with the rest of the state's forecast later in the hour. Right now, though, let's head to the sports desk, where Sean Sowerby joins us. And Sean, trade talks are already firing up.
Yes, Mike, St Kilda has emerged as the front runner to secure Richmond live wire Jack Higgins. The 21-year-old and the Tigers have agreed that his playing future will be at a new club next year. Meanwhile, Richmond's Premiership Cup touched down in Melbourne a short time ago with Tigers CEO Brendan Gale. And the standoff between Collingwood and Adam Treloar is getting messier, with Gold Coast reportedly telling the Magpies they're not interested in the 27-year-old. The Suns had been linked to Treloar, who, despite having 5 years to run on his contract, has been told he's up for trade. Brisbane has also revealed they're not interested. The Boxing Day Test will be played in front of crowds at the MCG, with the attendance to be capped at 25,000 per day. It means 125,000 cricket fans could be allowed to watch across a 5-day Test match. It'll be the first crowd since the Women's T20 World Cup 7 months ago. Australia's summer test, the test schedule against India, will kick off with a day-night test at the Adelaide Oval on December 17. Michael Slater says starting with the pink ball test is advantage Australia.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, India have experienced it, but not to the extent that we have.
Sydney and Canberra will host the one-dayers and T20s from November 17. Trainer Kieran Maher says Sir Dragonet is primed for his shot at the Cox Plate Melbourne Cup double. The Irish import is now the equal favourite for the big race on Tuesday after an impressive win at Moonee Valley with jockey Glenn Boss.
We bought him solely for the Melbourne Cup. Just the way he's come through, he's in super order and can't wait.
Boss was the last rider to complete the Cox Plate Melbourne Cup double on the great Maccabi Diva back in 2005. Liverpool is 2 from 2 in the Champions League, but defender Fabinho limped off with a leg injury during a 2-0 win over Danish champions Midtjylland. Manchester City cruised to a 3-0 victory over Marseille. And the Los Angeles Dodgers have won the Major League Baseball World Series, beating the Tampa Bay Rays 3-1 in Game 6 of the best-of-7 series.
And that'll do it! The Los Angeles Dodgers have put their postseason demons to bed.
It's the 7th championship the Dodgers have won and their first title since 1988. More sport at 6, and you can always head to our website 7news.com.au. Mike?
Thanks, Sean. Up next, Melbourne celebrates the end of more than 100 days in lockdown. Plus, retailers swing open their doors. Our customers can stay safe. The push for Melbourne cinemas to join the reopening party. And a war hero's medals returned 50 years after they were stolen. We're back on location in Melbourne's West in just a couple of minutes.
Live from Melbourne, this is 7's Afternoon News with Mike Amor.
Welcome back to 7 Melbourne's Afternoon News with a special edition coming to you from Yarraville. We're inside the magnificent Sun Theatre right now. Normally it would be packed with people eating popcorn and choc tops. So with the owner of Sun Theatre, Michael Smith. And Michael, everybody else is celebrating in Melbourne today, but you're not. You can't open. Why?
Look, the government has deemed at the moment that cinemas can't open, so we're standing by waiting for news of when that can happen.
The Premier was asked today, he said soon. You need some certainty.
Look, we do. It's really hard to plan. We can't just be told to open tomorrow. We need to get films in the building and do bookings and get the staff organised. But we are ready to open. We opened back in July for 4 days. We put our COVID plan in place then, and the staff are ready to go.
Initially, theatres were considered one of the more dangerous places for COVID. That's since been disproven. How can you open safely?
Look, it is a good point. Back in March, when we were asked to close, we fully supported the decision because it felt like lots of people in a room must be dangerous. That simple equation. But what's been proven with the cinemas that did remain open around the world is there hasn't been a single case of transmission inside a cinema. We have a system called bubble seating where when you book a ticket, it immediately puts all of the seats around you as empty so that we have lots and lots of space. And, I must say when I look at photos of people on an aeroplane and they're shoulder to shoulder wearing their masks, and that's been deemed safe to continue all through this, in the cinema there'll be people, not just 1.5 but normally 2 metres away from you, and you're all facing the same way. You can leave your mask on, you're not eating and drinking in front of people, you're all facing the screen, enjoying the story. So to us, it feels like an inherently safe way to get out and enjoy yourself.
You mentioned you only opened for 4 days in between the first and the second wave. How tough financially has it been for you as a business?
Oh, I'm afraid it's been devastating. we're living on borrowings now. Our cash savings are gone, so it's just a matter of how far we can extend and how much debt we have when we reopen.
I can hear the emotion in your voice.
Yeah, sorry.
Right? No, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's tough, right?
Yeah, look, it is. I mean, you're sitting there thinking, gee, do we sell a house or do we sell a house or do we just, we've talked about building an apartment above the cinema so we can keep going.
It's that bad?
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I just wonder, seeing all the people outside right now enjoying the sun, out and about, that must give you some hope, though.
I know, I must say, to pull up at the front of the cinema today and see the sun out and there's people sitting out the front of the cafes. The cafes have reopened and they've put extra tables and chairs out the front of the building. So, I mean, it's just amazing to walk back and see that, and I can't wait to see Yarraville being vibrant again.
I can't shake your hand, but I wish I could.
Yeah.
We wish you best for the future. Sun Theatre owner Michael Smith. Also an update on the overnight figures. We had 2 new cases today and sadly 2 more deaths. Let's have a listen to the Premier, Daniel Andrews.
There are 80 active cases of coronavirus in Victoria with 2 new cases since yesterday. Both of these 2 new cases are close contacts of other positive cases, were quarantined at home and are no risk to public health. There are 6 healthcare workers who are active cases. The rolling 14-day average to 27 October is Metro 2.7, regional Victoria is 0. Cases classified as unknown source or mystery cases, there are now just 3 mystery cases and they are all in metropolitan Melbourne.
There's relief across Melbourne's retail sector as shops can finally swing open their doors and welcome back customers after what's been an exceptionally challenging few months. Deb Force from the Sun Bookshop joins me now live here in Yarraville, and thank you very much for your time, Deb. What's it been like in the store today? I saw a rare thing over there. There are kids lining up for books.
Of course. Children have been lining up at the younger son and their parents. And just now, actually, I was standing here and I heard a little girl behind me say, "The Sun Bookshop's open." And she was very excited and ran off that way.
You have been doing online sales and deliveries. How tough has that been?
It's really hard doing that work. We've turned from a bookshop where it's all about having friendly chats to people to it's like working in a warehouse and packing and delivering and so much more work for actually a lot less books sold. So.
You'll come back to a very important time, obviously the lead up to Christmas. How important is it for you to get open now? Is it too late? Can you make up lost ground?
I think we can. We've got ideas. We've still got our web shop going, and we've got QR codes in the windows, and we're going to do more of that before Christmas. And we do have time limits, but people come, please come. You can stay for 10 minutes to 15 minutes each. That's plenty of time.
I love your enthusiasm. What do you make of these scenes behind you? It must give you a great joy.
It's so good. It makes me so happy to see people of Melbourne out and mostly doing the right thing, socially distancing, wearing a mask. It's so good. I'm very happy.
Deb Force, the local bookshop owner, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Bye.
Police have returned the medals of a World War II digger to his family more than half a century after they were stolen. Nick McCallum is at Lilydale Police Station. And Nick, this is the result of dogged detective work.
51 years on, a police officer has cracked a cold case to honour a war hero. Sergeant Vaughan Atherton returns Doug Downs medals to his sister Rosemary. Bittersweet.
So proud, and yet, it's going to sound ridiculous, heartbroken as well, that it wasn't him.
Doug fought in Crete in World War II. His medals were stolen from his home in 1969.
Oh, he was devastated. You can buy replicas, but that's not the same.
Doug died shortly after. The medals were recovered during a police raid on a home in 2017. No one knows how they got there. Ever since, they've been at Lilydale Station. Just last week, Sergeant Atherton, himself a former Army reservist, was told about them, saw Doug's name, and it became a mission.
2.5 solid days on the computer and making phone calls.
The breakthrough, he tracked down a relative close to home.
Well and truly alive and working for Victoria Police.
She told him about Rosemary. For her, the medals mean so much.
Look, I'm just so happy for her and the family.
To hold these is like holding part of him.
Rosemary plans to wear the medals with great pride at her local RSL on Remembrance Day in 2 weeks.
Great story. Our live coverage of Melbourne's big reopening continues next, and how a young woman cheated death as a ute ploughed into her home. This special edition of 7 News continues in just a moment. Live from Yarraville, you're watching a special edition of 7 News on the day our city reopened. It's been an amazing day for Melbourne, something we're seeing playing out right here in the western suburbs this afternoon. Retail stores, small and large, and hospitality, restaurants, pubs and cafes, all now given the chance to launch out of lockdown.
We've all got to follow the rules to protect staff, to protect customers, but also to protect this fragile thing that we've all built.
Melbourne recorded 2 new cases overnight, but both were linked to known outbreaks. Let's bring in Gerard Dwyer from the Shop Distributive and Allied Employees Association. Thank you very much for joining us. This must feel like a long time coming for so many workers impacted during lockdown.
It has been a long time coming. I think retail workers today are just as keen to get back out there and back to work as the shoppers of Melbourne. It has been a long time, but we want to make sure that the reopening is a safe reopening, and we also want to make sure that that pent-up demand doesn't express itself in sort of frustration aimed at retail workers. We do want the community to take a step back, be respectful, enjoy the fact that we can now get back out in the shop.
Just picking up on that point, obviously your staff, your workers your members are going to be under pressure. There will be some frustration. I guess people need to be patient. Things are not returning to normal.
I think patience is the key word. We are not, as you say, back to normal, and people need to understand that. The shopping experience will be somewhat different in the stores that are opening today. Obviously, the systems in place in the supermarkets and other essential retailers are well known to your viewers, but we are asking people that new experience in some of those stores that have been closed now for over 100 days, to understand that they do need to adjust. There are protocols, COVID protocols that will be in place in those stores, and people need to follow the rules and respect the fact that the staff are there to help them and make the experience as enjoyable as possible. But if there are frustrations, please do not take them out on retail workers.
Jared, your members will be under pressure, as we said. Talk us through some of the steps that they're going to take to try to ensure people's safety.
Okay, we've had in place since the beginning of COVID a 10-point safety plan for retail. That is a plan that's well known across the industry. It's supported now by the industry. We worked through a lot of issues in the first 4 weeks, but there is wide agreement on those protocols which need to be in place. They go to cleaning, they go to spacing, consistent with the public health directions of social distancing, and also importantly, Mike, the number of people that are allowed in a per square metre environment. So that's 1 to 4. And that's the issue where I think we can see most of the potential problems arising. We need to have shopping centres regulate the numbers going in, and once in the centre, to make sure that people aren't congregating at bottlenecks, but rather stay dispersed and keep their physical distance.
Jared Dwyer, we wish your members all the best. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Cafe and restaurant workers have been racing against the clock to prepare for today's big reopening. Anthony Aquero from Pizza di Sporto joins me. Anthony, you've just opened the doors. You have been open for takeaway only, but you must be very happy right now.
Very excited to open the doors back to the public. It's been a hectic couple of days to get our staff back to normal, but everybody's pulled together really well, and we're really happy with how our team's come along.
What kind of capacity will you have in your restaurant?
Anywhere between 40 and 50, depending on group size.
Is that hard to make a living out of that amount of people?
We'll manage. We're fighters, we've been in this industry for a lot of years, and we've got a really good community following, so we'll definitely get through it.
Now, you come from a southern Italian background where food is so important to socialise. That's probably against the message of the moment, isn't it, which is difficult?
Yeah, a little bit difficult in that sense. Slightly against the message currently, but we've got to move towards a new normal. We just see food as a vehicle to get people together, and whether now that's a little bit further away than normal, we'll have to make do.
How much are you looking forward to getting more people in your restaurant?
Look, very much so. Obviously, the more people we can get in, the better for all of us. The more people that we can find a seat, the more we can share our food and spread our culture across Melbourne.
And the community, this community in particular, is so important, isn't it?
Very much so. Yarraville's a beautiful community, as you can see today. A lot of support from locals and the surrounding suburbs. So we like to see people out and about.
As I said, you've been open for takeaway, but what's some of the reaction to people who are able to come back, finally sit down outside on this beautiful day?
Ecstatic is the only word I can use. People really, really love to sit down, and people are really taking to what's going to become the new normal.
All right, well, I'm sure you're glad to be back in business, and we wish you all the best for the future. Anthony, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
A driver's under arrest after crashing his ute into a Sydney home while talking on Snapchat at the same time. The owner was shaken but not injured.
I was in bed, and next minute I just hear the screech of the car, and all of a sudden it was just bang, bang, bang.
The 21-year-old driver allegedly blew almost 3 times over the alcohol limit. Essendon is mourning the loss of one of its most familiar off-field faces. Dr. Bruce Reid has died after a battle with cancer. He served as the club's doctor for 36 years and was the first to raise the alarm about the supplement scandal. Bruce Reid was 74. You're watching 7 News, live on location in Melbourne's West. We're back with Peter Mitchell and Jane Bunn straight after the break. Welcome back to this special edition of 7 News, live from Yarraville. After 2 days of zero cases, we recorded 2 new cases today. Both are linked to the northern suburbs cluster and are already in quarantine. Our rolling 14-day average continues to fall, now at 2.7.
Today is a positive day. To have just 2 more cases and to have them contained, to have them close contacts that were locked away, they were away from other people.
There are 3 mystery cases remaining in Metro Melbourne. In regional Victoria, the rolling average is now officially 0. 2 more deaths, though, have been reported. Neither is recent, but both are linked to aged care. And testing numbers continue to please authorities. Almost 25,000 people were processed in the past 24 hours. Peter Mitchell is working on tonight's edition of 7 News at 6. And Mitch, it's a day we've been waiting for.
For more than 100 long days, Mike, it's such a relief, and the city couldn't wait to start to enjoy its freedom. On the stroke of midnight, people were queuing to be there when shops and even pubs reopened, and the rush didn't stop there. Big crowds continued right through the day.
Yeah, a lot of people here too, Mitch. And while we're enjoying our first day of freedom, much of Europe is going back into lockdown.
That's right, and they're not at all happy, Mike. Italy, once the epicentre of the pandemic, is tonight a nation in protest, furious over renewed restrictions introduced to combat a surge in the number of cases. Violence has erupted on the streets as discontent grows across Europe. Thankfully, the lockdown here was much more orderly, although hopefully we can avoid any possible return to lockdown. We'll have the latest on new cases and how the city's making sure it's safe to get out and about. That's coming up at 6, Mike.
See you then. Thanks, Mitch. Let's take a quick look at Melbourne's roads right now.
Good afternoon, I'm Jess Miller in the Tassal Salmon traffic chopper just over Chadstone at the moment, seeing how Warragul Road is holding up. You can see traffic moving off the Monash Freeway looking pretty full, in particular southbound, and the reason for it, I dare say this, lots of people hitting up Chadstone Shopping Centre to get their much needed fix of retail therapy. Spag bowl night, stir fry for dinner. Switch it for salmon this week with fresh or smoked Tassal salmon. Tassal, it's Tasmanian for salmon. Have a great evening.
Let's head back to the studio now. Jane Bunn is here with an update on the weather. Hello, Jane.
Oh, hello, Mike. Well, what perfect conditions for our first day back out in restaurants and shopping. We've had light winds and lots of sunshine. The city has reached 21, and while we can see cloud, it's actually a long way away. The radar shows showers and thunderstorms forming in a circle up there around Melbourne. They're out near Hillsville, up near Wallen, out past Bacchus Marsh. And they aren't coming in. Inner suburbs are staying completely dry. So it's all good for dining outside tonight, but it will cool down after dark. Outside now it is lovely, 21 in Hastings, 20 in the city, 22 in Watsonia. The storms are far away. After a generally dry morning in Victoria, those storms bubbled up. They are most widespread along the ranges, but there are some developing in the north as well. Meanwhile, coastal Gippsland is seeing sunshine for the first time in days. It is currently 17 in Bairnsdale and Sale, 21 in Bendigo, 23 in Echuca and 20 in Ballarat. Our thunderstorms are thanks to a trough that is dipping down into Victoria, and there are thunderstorms from here right up to Queensland. All of those flashes are lightning. The stormy trough persists tomorrow. Then we look at a low that should be right near Mildura by tomorrow night. So we repeat with the storms tomorrow. Generally sunny, but the risk of thunderstorms mainly near the ranges. Rain develops over in the far west, and that'll increase in the northwest later as the low approaches. That'll affect mainly northern Victoria as it moves through on Friday and Saturday. Around the nation tomorrow, soaking in Sydney, 25 to 45 millimetres of rain. Mostly sunny in Hobart, a top of 17. There's the slight risk of an afternoon shower. Showers and thunderstorms developing in Adelaide as that low passes by. To Victoria, areas of fog, then generally sunny. We do have cloud bubbling up and showers and thunderstorms most widespread along the ranges in through here. Patchy rain over in the far west. That'll be increasing up in the Mallee later in the day after a top of 26 in Mildura. In Melbourne, another lovely day. We've got light winds and lots of sunshine. Expect another top of 21. Now, there is the slight risk of afternoon thunderstorms in outer suburbs, much like we saw today. Now, that is the latest. Enjoy the sunshine and the happy people enjoying Yarraville. I will have more in the news at 6 o'clock. Mike.
Yeah, they're sure enjoying it here. Thanks, Jane. And that's all for this special edition of 7 News. In 7 News at 6, I'll join you again from here in Yarraville as part of our special coverage on this incredible day for our great city. For now, from the 7 News team, have a great afternoon.